This is the City of God podcast, where Christ meets culture. And welcome to the City of God podcast, where we are weekly talking about today's biggest cultural issues, all through the lens of God's infallible word. I'm Rob Pacienza, and today we have a very special guest with us. She is the U.S. representative from the state of Illinois, Mary Miller, here on the City of God podcast. Mary Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to participate.
Well, let's dive right in. And can you tell our audience a little bit about the resolution that you just introduced, H.R. 475, which seeks to declare June as Family Month?
Yes, I'm very excited about it. When I came to D.C., I came with the mission to overcome evil with good. I believe that's why God's left us one of the reasons God's left us believers here on earth. And it's been 25 years since Bill Clinton proclaimed June as Pride Month. And back then, I think it was LG, maybe B. And then Obama added a few more letters. And then Joe Biden brought it to the LGBTQIA2S plus ridiculousness.
Yes.
But anyway, celebrating the American family, what could be more positive and upbuilding and unifying than that? And so we're taking it back. They have used it to promote gender confusion, to groom our children, to take license to go to the streets and present indecency. And we are going to say this is over. And the American family and faith and family is what was the foundation of our country. And by pushing this whole pride thing, it's really done damage to our country. The birth rates have never been lower. Marriage rates are low. Young people don't even want to get married. So I'm all about encouraging family values, and what better thing to do than celebrate it in June.
So we're talking about the resolution to declare June as Family Month, and we're here with Representative Mary Miller from the state of Illinois. What has been the response so far on Capitol Hill, whether it's from outside organizations that you run into around the district or members of Congress? What's been the reaction so far?
Well, I think people before I even brought it up, excuse me, I think people were done with Pride Month, and just it's become gross. And so very positive. Other members are very pleased on our side. So there again, it's super partisan, but we won the election in a big way. President Trump won, and we won. And I believe a mandate for common sense. And, I would be opposed to us declaring heterosexual day or month. I mean, it's out of line. It's out of place.
I love your stance for the family. And just in case people don't know, this is not something that came out of the blue for you. I mean, you live out your values on Capitol Hill. You are the chair of the Family Caucus. For our audience, explain what is the purpose of the Family Caucus? What are you trying to do? What's the tenor of your conversations? And tell us a little bit about those caucus meetings.
Sure. Of course, we're legislators out here, and so we want to make laws and speak against evil, but nature abhors a vacuum. And so I learned this when I was raising my children. You can't tell your children no, no, no without having corresponding yeses. And the yes for our country should be faith and family. And so I started the Congressional Family Caucus to support the traditional family as God ordained it, a husband and wife committed to each other for life, welcoming children, and all things that have to do with that. Good taxation policy, standing for life, standing for parental rights, standing against the trans issue, and standing to protect our girls in athletics and for the Title IX win that we had in the past and that the left is trying to diminish and ruin girls' athletics, actually. So all things family, that's what the Congressional Family Caucus is standing for.
That's amazing. So let's talk about, you mentioned it earlier, the importance of the nuclear family according to God's design. Why is it so important, particularly right now in the chaos that we're experiencing in our culture and society, the rampant confusion, as you said, the diminishing of parental rights and the next generation not even want to get married and have a family just because society for so long has put it down. Why is it so important, maybe now more than ever, to reclaim God's design for the family for the soul of this nation?
Right. Well, it's foundational in a sense. I remember the great pastor Adrian Rogers. He said, if you take God out of a society, if you take God out of society, you have chaos, just like if you would take instinct out of a beehive. And because we've taken God out of society, we are trying to redefine everything. When life begins, when it ends, what is a woman, what is a man, what is marriage, what is good, what is evil. We're putting ourselves in the place of God. But the family should be the transmission piece to instruct the next generation on who God is and what he requires of us. And so, that's why they want to diminish the family. We can look at, Stalin. He wanted to get women out of the family. He wanted to destroy the family. And just like the socialist communists, instead of looking to God and to the family, they want us, the citizens, the minions, to look to the government. So it is God and its family that we want people to look to.
Yeah, I mean, it was Karl Marx that really believed that the key to global domination and advancing his communist ideas was to first attack the nuclear family. If you destroy the family, you change the world, according to Marx. And we've seen economic Marxism be transformed into cultural Marxism. And we see from the progressive elites in whether it's in Hollywood or mainstream media or institutions of higher education, it's all an attack against the family. We're talking with U.S. Representative Mary Miller from the state of Illinois, introducing H.R. 475, declaring June as Family Month. And this is so important because not only is this an example of how we're reclaiming the family as the people of God, but this is just one example of how you are living out your faith all the time on Capitol Hill. And we're just so proud of you and behind you and your leadership up on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. What is it like? Describe for our audience just the challenges you face, not just with this resolution, but every day as you're living out your faith as a citizen of the city of God there in what our founder, D. James Kennedy, called the city of Rome, Washington, D.C. What is that like on a daily basis? The challenges you face, the obstacles that you're presented with as someone who believes firmly that Jesus Christ not only calls you to a private faith, but to live out your faith in public, and for you in particular in the halls of Congress.
So I'm the grateful recipient of God's grace, and I love to share 1 Peter 2:9, proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And I believe that Psalm 18 says, as for God, his way is perfect. So I'm unashamed of who I belong to. I'm unashamed to proclaim that God's ways are perfect. I'd say one of the biggest challenges, because it's so fast paced out here, is staying connected to God and carving out time to be in the Word, to be prayerful. When I came out here, I made it a point to find other believers to connect with. I don't normally stay out here on the weekend. I go home. My husband's an elder in our church, which a lot of our children attend. And we set aside Sundays for worship and family day. I still have a big old-fashioned Sunday dinners with the family, and just to fill up and reconnect, and to also stay close to other believers so that they can hold me accountable. I think I'm at peace with having people hate me, and I'm actually kind of excited about it because it's not my natural person. My Achilles heel all my life has been that I've been a man pleaser, and to come out here and to really feel free and not upset about being called names. They have their favorite names that they call anybody on the left. And and I want to encourage other people too, is every day commit your day to God and ask him to show you the opportunities in it. I tend to pray, and I did this morning with my grandchildren are visiting, a couple granddaughters are visiting, and we read Psalm 25 together. Unto you, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Oh my God, in you I trust. Let me not be put to shame. Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. So that's kind of how I stay connected.
That's awesome. Well, certainly the resolution that you introduced declaring June as Family Month, I think emboldens people and empowers people and encourages Christians everywhere to say, yes, we're going to stand up for what's right. I mean, if Mary Miller's doing it on Capitol Hill, I can do it in a small way in my school, on my college campus, in my workplace, in my community. So thank you for just setting that example of how you're living out your faith, not only in private, but in public as well. Would you say, would it be a fair statement to say what we're sensing in America right now is this rejection? It might be a little slower than maybe individuals like you and I hope for, but we're beginning to sense this rejection of cultural Marxism and the gender madness and the ideologies being taught in our institutions of higher education, that you're starting to see people say enough is enough. You're no longer are you going to brainwash our children and really try to corrupt the next generation with these backwards, godless ideologies. Do you get a sense in your position in Washington, D.C. and when you travel across America that people are finally saying enough is enough?
I think they are. And I think our public schools have been teaching kids they came from nowhere. They're here for no purpose. They're heading to nothingness. Who wants to live like that? And I do have to say, very exciting out here. So many young staffers are very serious about their faith, and different ones on my staff have invited me to worship with them on Sundays. And I've been so encouraged about the places of worship that they're at, really meaty ministry and not what I would call like fast food services. So I feel hopeful for the country. If you're presented with the true treasure versus the baubles of the world, wouldn't you choose the true treasure? And I think it's up to the church and to Christians to be confident. And because I think for decades now, Christians have scurried to the corner. Sit down and shut up. Keep your faith in private or keep it in the church. No, we are not commanded. Jesus told us to go out and share the gospel, make disciples. And, I think we should be joyful warriors. Our good friend, Pastor Erwin Lutzer from Moody Church, he said, evil never retreats on its own, only when it's confronted by a more powerful force. And we know that ultimately that force is the gospel.
Amen. And I can sense the tide turning even when I'm walking the halls of the Capitol or the Senate or House office buildings. I mean, we our ministry in particular hosts an event, Politics and Principles. Many of your staff attend. We did one a few months ago. We had over 100 staffers that were hungry for the word, hungry for truth. We brought in Dr. Vodi Bakum, who does not shy away from the controversial issues. So you really can sense, and I encourage everyone every time I travel and I talk about the work we're doing up in Washington, D.C. and partnering with individuals like yourself, that it's taking time and it will take time, but we're really beginning to see people hungry for the truth, standing up for what's right and seeing righteousness once again exalt a nation. In your resolution, H.R. 474, you reference the quote from President John Adams, emphasizing that the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. How has America strayed almost 250 years from our founding and from the Declaration of Independence? How have we strayed from that sentiment, and how do we return?
Yes. And I was just talking to Representative Chip Roy on the House floor, and we were discussing that I believe the Achilles heel of Americans is money. And people are selling out for money all the time. They can't take it with them. And the other thing, and I always taught my children that even though every human has been guilty, in my opinion, of some time engaging in envy and jealousy, it is a very serious sin. And why are people so envious of someone else's wealth or money? I think it's because that they aren't satisfied with two things that God created us for. One is for relationships, which is our relationship with God, and then among other people, and then in our work. God created us for relationships and work. And when you don't have that, it's like chaos, envy, jealousy, money. It's shallow, it's empty.
That's a good word and a good reminder, and it reminds us how far we have strayed from the values that this nation was founded upon. When you think about this resolution, what's your hope? I mean, beyond just declaring June Family Month, June will come and go, but what's your hope for the broader impact of this resolution for months and years to come?
Yes, my hope is to be able to reach young people and to present to them the glory of God's design for marriage and for having children. And my husband and I were blessed with 7 children. And I do have to say that kind of evolved. When we got married, we were thinking 2. And then we had a few more, and we got so much pressure from well-meaning people. Like, what are you thinking about? Wait till they're teenagers. How are you going to afford it? What about college? Like all these negative comments. But I want to say that things that are valuable cost a lot. And yes, it is a lot of work. You have to live on a budget, different things. But to entice young people to consider that it is a great thing to commit yourself to another person before God for life through thick and thin, and to welcome children. And my husband and I are expecting our 23rd grandchild. How about that?
It's amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome. Last question for you. Speaking of the next generation, you hear so many young people, they're either disillusioned with politics, they're disillusioned with what they see on TV, and maybe when they even think or consider a life in public service, it's the last thing they would ever imagine. But we need more and more young people who are standing for truth in the public square, that are running for office, whether it's locally, statewide, or nationally. What would be your challenge and your encouragement to that young person listening to this interview that maybe is considering it, but maybe a little disillusioned with what they see, don't think it's really something worth pursuing? What would your encouragement be to the next generation?
I would like to encourage them of how great our country is and unique among all other nations in the history of the world, because power is not concentrated in the king, the president, or the czar, but power is with the people. And so when the people don't become engaged, you end up having a mess. And yes, we're not a perfect nation, and flawed people like myself are representing their districts, but we need to enter into the political process, or else our country we're going to fail. We need people to get involved. It's a very noble thing to want to do. And I think people need to focus on the opportunities. If there's all kinds of scoundrels beside you, or you're being called a scoundrel, just go do the right thing before God. And that's what I would encourage people to do.
That's a good word. Well, thank you once again. I know you have an incredibly busy schedule. Thank you for making time for this. We are just so delighted that we know that there are individuals like yourself on Capitol Hill, standing for Christ and advancing legislation and resolutions like HR 475, which is a reflection of your commitment to Christ and living out biblical truth in the public square and in the halls of Congress. Blessings to you and to your family and to your ministry there in Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much.
That's all the time we have for the City of God podcast. I pray that you were encouraged and inspired by this special conversation with U.S. Representative Mary Miller, talking about her bold move to declare June Family Month. We pray that you would pass this episode along to a family member or a friend, anyone who's interested in the integration of faith and culture. Thank you once again for joining us, and we hope to see you next time right back here on the City of God. The City of God podcast is produced by Coral Ridge Ministries and made in partnership with the Institute for Faith and Culture. Visit us at cityofgodpodcast.com to access all of our previous episodes. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or anywhere you get podcasts. A full video version of this podcast is available on YouTube. This is the City of God podcast, where Christ meets culture.